Okay, yesterday we have started off our discussion on that sizing concept. So we discussed about how to identify the RAM requirement, how to identify the disk requirements. But another important thing is about the processor. Processor is also crucial because in SAP HANA the most important feature is that parallel processing capabilities. So that also gives a huge improvement in the performances. So identifying the right kind of processor is very, very crucial. Processing, when you're using the word processing, that processing takes place only when there is some request comes from the end users. Think about the production systems. If there is one end user is trying to perform some activity, when it sends a request to the database, then the processing starts. So again, it depends. It depends on what kind of solution is that. It may be OLTP or OLAP, as I told you yesterday. If it's a OLAP solution, it's meant for reporting. So when end user executes the report, then the request comes to the database for processing of that request. So it's basically depends on the number of users, right? But a lot of variables will be there again in that. You can't just simply blindly you can't consider the number of users because different users in the company, they'll execute reports in different ways. Some people, they'll execute reports frequently, some people maybe once in 2 hours or maybe once in a week. you know some of these users, they execute simple reports, some users will execute complex reports. So that's why what SAP has done is, as I shown you yesterday, if you can refer to that SAP note, they'll give you that clear information for you like this. This information from that note only. See, coming to the processor, how they identify the processor requirements. So they explained it here clearly in what way that CPU sizing is done. Okay. So the assumptions are like this. We assume that HANA queries can be divided into 3 categories: easy, medium, and heavy queries, which differs in amount of CPU resources that they require when it comes to processing of that. So, as is mentioned here, typically medium queries use twice as much resources as the easy ones, but while the heavy queries requires almost 10 times as much resources as that of easy queries. So there's a drastic change. We don't know exactly what kind of queries they execute, what kind of reports they execute. And second thing, further another assumption they have is HANA users can be divided into 3 categories: sporadic, normal, and expert. So these are defined based on the frequency of query executions. So what they have taken here is sporadic users typically executes 1 query per hour and runs 80% of the easy queries and 20% of the medium queries, whereas normal users execute 11 queries per hour and runs 50% of easy queries and 50% of medium. When it comes to expert users, they execute a lot of queries, 33 queries per hour, and runs 100% heavy queries. So along with that, the distribution on the user categories: 70% of the sporadic users, 25% normal, 5% expert users. All these assumptions, based on that, they did a lot of, analysis, calculations. Finally, what SAP is recommending is this. And the results from the multi-user load test on certified hardware and average resource requirement of currently zero.2 cores per user has been determined. So that's what SAP is recommending. Suppose you have 100 user company, we recommend a 20 core processor. That's how it is. Because no one can tell you exact numbers there. It's highly impossible. Okay. So that's a recommendation for lab solutions, analytical solutions. But in case if a customer want to run something like, you want to run ERP application on HANA, CRM, SEM, something like that, OLTP applications. If you're a basis guy, you might be knowing this. If there are OLTP applications, processor requirements will be depending on the transactions, because OLTP applications are meant for performing transactions. But it's not based on the number of transactions they execute. Instead of that, SAP came up with these apps, SAP Application Performance Standards. So this is derived from sales and distribution standard application benchmarks. So where they are saying 100 apps equal to 2000 fully processed order line items per hour, sales order line items per hour. So you need to have an idea how many order line items will process in that company. Depending on that, we'll decide. So to keep it simple, simple examples we are given here. You can see if you take a laptop with one processor with a dual core, approximately 2000 SAPs. So we are saying 2000 SAPs. Okay, so that's what we can process. If you go with a little bit bigger servers, commodity servers, what we call them as, with two processors, means two separate processors will be there on the same motherboard on the same box, 20 cores, approximately 20,000 SAPs. High-end servers is also given here. Just to have an idea what kind of servers we need to recommend for the customers in case if they are running OLTP applications on top of HANA. So that differentiation you need to make between OLTP and OLAP. Okay, so once we have all this information like your memory, your processor, your disk, all these identifications, once you are done, which we can calculate using quick sizer, and then you can start choosing the appliance. There is a big list of appliance models are available, which I am going to show you. So if you want to use that quick sizer, I'll just show you where it's accessible to you. If you're a basis guy, you might be knowing that quick sizer, actually two versions we have now. One is classical, another one is HANA. Okay, just give me a second. Okay, quick sizer you can see here. They'll provide a lot of information. You just go through that information given to you. This is a quick sizer. The classical version you need to use when you want to do sizing for SAP solutions with RDBMS. The same SAP solutions you want to implement with the HANA database, then it differs. Okay, that HANA version you have to use that in such cases. So provide the inputs. So if you are someone new to this, as already shown you yesterday also, you can just use that beginner's guide. A PDF document is already there. You can refer to that, and you can refer to the sizing guidelines also. Now, when we want to look at the appliances, different kind of models offered to you by different hardware vendors, if you want to have that list, go to this help.sap.com HANA platform. Just wait a moment, it's very slow. Here we can go to this product availability matrix. So once we come to this product availability matrix, you click on this open new window under essential information. So you'll come to this screen, certified and supported SAP HANA hardware. Then click on this view listing. And here you find certified appliances. See, there's a big list actually, 1144 models we have today. But this number goes up. I mean, every day there's something new coming up. So this is as of 11th April. So you can export all these as PDF files, and you want to do comparisons and all that they given. So you have such criteria available depending on the memory you can search, depending on the CPU you can search, vendor we can search. A big list of vendors. So you won't find IBM in this actually. IBM is acquired by this Lenovo. So Lenovo, you have that now. IBM, I'll show you, there are separate servers, exclusive ones, that Power Series systems. And then you can search based on the CPU architecture. So only Intel they're supporting. Only Intel. And the memories. You have very small configurations right from 48. Looks like 48 is not available as of now. So 64 GB. These small 48, 64, all these are for B1, business one application. See, appliance type they'll give you. All this is for B1. Small companies, small servers. Okay. So generally from here it starts, BW, other things also, general data warehouse management and all. And that too you might have seen that here they're mentioning about that scale up. You see, this scale out. So that you differentiate always. when you procure your appliances, we also need to consider this factor, which is very crucial. See, if I buy this one, if I look for 20 TB, generally this will be a scale-up machine. See, they don't give it for scale-out, they'll give it for scale-up only. Scale-out, they don't use such a big appliances. Generally that 1 TB, 2 TB, these kind of things you'll find for scale-up as well as scale-out also. See, here. So what's the meaning of that? Suppose when I say it's a 20 TB, it doesn't mean that I need to buy this appliance with 20 TB. I can start with 2 TB. I can grow it up to 20 TB. So that's a maximum supported. We can scale it up to 20 TB. Generally, these kind of appliances will be expensive. Scale out means, suppose if I'm buying this 1 TB machine, scale out machine, I'll get it with 1 TB only. They won't give it with 512 GB. They'll give it with 1 TB. And whenever you want, you need to buy one more machine with another 1 TB. You can add it in the cluster, multi-node, distributed databases. So that's a facility you'll be having. Okay, so sometimes you want to search based on, you want to have it for B1 or general other applications with scale out, scale up, all that they're given. Operating systems also, there are two, SUSE or Red Hat. So you see that Red Hat and SUSE you have. So maybe some appliances restricted only for SUSE, some appliances for RH here. The latest you have some of these XFS and all that. So different search criteria they are giving for you, choose based on your requirements there. And you can get information about the pricing and all that from those vendors. I mean, if you just take an example, how it looks like. This is one IBM machine. This is how it looks like. I mean, internally, if you see, it's a mid tower. A hot swap they have this. These are the RAM, two processors you have, each 10 cores. Intel Xeon A7 series. Dual power supplies you have. This is for SSD cards, solid state drives and all that. Just an example, just for understanding, I given one example here. Mid-size budgeting. 512 GB RAM with 4 into 10 core CPU, 7 TB disks and all that is somewhere quoted at $150,000, including the 3 years of service. And this is a smaller one. This is with 128, 2 into 10 cores. Dell machine is costing around 40,000. Just a couple of small examples. You can also check for the benchmarks. If you go to sap.com/benchmarks, you can find benchmarks also like this. So apart from this, the initial stages itself, I clearly explained you that SAP has also started giving support for IBM Power Series systems in case if some customers are interested to run HANA on IBM Power Series systems. A separate software is given. That's why here supported power systems list is also given. It's high configuration systems and Power Series. 8 models we have. So they are given to note numbers also, SAP note numbers, you can refer to them. Number of cores for production, 144, 96, big models. So that is supported Power Series systems. And entry level systems generally we choose for training purpose, demonstration purpose, any sandbox system you want to configure in your company. So you can go with that small appliances. Usually they will be with 8 cores sometimes. Generally they'll give it 32 GB RAM, almost all of this. Okay, that is in case if you want to go with entry level systems. So there are some customers who cannot afford their own HANA appliances. They want to go with cloud. So there are certified cloud partners also. So if you want HANA on cloud, we have certified partners. Click on this certified IaaS platforms. IaaS means infrastructure as a service. Initially it was only Amazon. Amazon now is giving a lot of options for you. So they'll give you a scenario whether it is only for OLTP or OLAP or both supporting, or is it for small B1 applications. Clustering facilities there or not. In the future you want to increase, you want to add one more node. Is it possible to do it or not? So all that they'll give you. After that, actually, after Amazon Web Services, Microsoft has joined. Microsoft Azure is one. Then Huawei Technology has joined. Then recently, this Google Cloud Platform as well as IBM Bluemix also are certified now, officially certified. These two appliances they certified recently. These two of so other ones also there. Whichever you want, you can go with. So apart from that, storage, certified storage solutions which we can use. This is also given 53 different storages. You might have seen SAN, NAS, all those storage solutions. All these are. Okay, so these are all the different certified hardwares what we can use, maybe on the premise or on the cloud. Okay. So as I told you, you need to plan it properly. Usually it's going to be a 4 weeks process. Procuring appliances is a big task actually. It's a 4 weeks process. So coming to the next thing, see what happened initially till SPS 05. SAP made it mandatory for the customers to go with only appliances. People went with appliances, but appliance cost is generally high. Initially, at that time, 2011, 2012, at that time used to be very, very high in fact. Because, few customers, generally the cost of very few hardware vendors we used to have, generally the manufacturing cost and all that will be high, production cost. That's why it used to be very expensive. But then customers have started questioning SAP. Okay, you're saying you have to procure the appliance. We agree with that. But, coming to something like, storages and all that particularly, customers are not happy with that because so many companies, they have a lot of storages. They maintain big data centers. And then they started questioning, why can't we utilize the storage which we have already in our company? So that's why from SPS 6 onwards, SAP has given some flexibility for the customer. So what customer can do is, he can utilize the hardware available within the company. But if you want to do that, you need to get it certified by SAP and making sure that installations are done only by the certified installers. That's a condition SAP has given. So that situation, they refer to that as a TDI, tailored data center integrations. So in such situations, we'll have some flexibility because hardware is in our control. We'll be having some kind of flexibility, particularly when it comes to the disk storage, not other aspects, mainly the disk storage. Yesterday, if you remember, I told you the recommendations for the persistent storage on the disk storage. For data volumes, we are recommending 3 times of RAM, log volumes equal to RAM, and traces and all that equal to RAM. But if it's a TDI scenario, tailored data center integrations, what SAP suggests is you don't need to go with 3 times of RAM for data volumes particularly. Other things are okay, but data volumes, you don't need to go with 3 times of RAM. They recommend equal to RAM. Data volumes also equal to RAM. So total you'll be getting only 3 times of RAM. Total persistent storage requirement will be all equal to RAM. Data volume equal to RAM, log volume equal to RAM, traces equal to RAM. The reason is, if tomorrow, if that is getting filled up, you got a message, alert message, it's in your control. You want allocate some more additional space, you can allocate it because that's your storage, you can do it. But if it is an appliance, you're procuring an appliance like what I shown you, there will be service agreements. If you have anything like a situation where the disk space is getting filled up, only the hardware vendor should come and do that, which takes time. I mean, you can't expect that happen immediately. You need to inform them they have to come and add some more additional storage. That is generally a time taking process. So by the time anything can happen, maybe your disk is full, you come across database freeze situations, all that may happen. Just that's why, to avoid that, the different kind of sizings that we'll look into. So those factors also you need to consider a simple way. So you have to look at it. I mean, whether that customer is procuring the appliance, otherwise they want to go with TDI scenario. So based on that you can decide. Okay. So those are different sizing aspects which you need to consider. And as I told you, all these are recommendations given to you. Whatever we are speaking about is recommendations, so follow those recommendations and do that sizing, but properly document it. Okay. Migration stuff I'm not discussing now. When we go for migration sessions, at that time I'll discuss about this. Tell me if you have any doubts on this. Okay, anyhow, in the next class we are going to start what, the installations. We're done with all these basic concepts, what you need to understand. So we are ready to go with our installations and start doing some practical activities. So let us see. I mean, it's always going to be the easiest thing. Hmm? What is your doubt, Ravi? Yesterday I given an example for 700 GB. Can't you do calculations for 2 TB? How different is your question from that, what I explained you yesterday and what you are asking me today? 700 GB I explained yesterday. Do calculations for 2 TB. What is there? You know compression factors. You know what is dynamic memory, what is static RAM, how much is needed for static, how much is needed for dynamic. Do a simple math. Tell me how much you need. Okay, anyhow now for installation we need the media. I'll show you where you can look at that media and what DVDs will be available.